Everywhere you go, you are surrounded by icons. From the brand on your sweatshirt, to the men's and women's bathrooms icons, to the image of your favorite celebrity on your phone background, icons are a large part of our everyday lives. For our project, we decided to take the direction of the iconic person. We each chose our own icons, and throughout the video, we will discuss how these icons fit with one or more of the 4 core areas and why we personally chose our icons.
What makes Bob Marley iconic? Having been considered as a worldwide icon of reggae, Bob Marley was a pioneer for introducing and bringing Jamaican music to worldwide acclaim. He preached about peace and unity through his music. His protest songs about civil rights, women's rights, freedom of religion were important to the human rights movement. His songs not only started a revolution in Jamaica, but also in parts of Africa. Therefore, it is undeniable to address him as one of the most distinguished artists of all time. All this came from his brilliantly created and intriguing tunes, which brought peace for all mankind. Although he is no longer in this world, his music undoubtedly still remains eternal and echoes all over the universe. When looking at 4 core of culture's identity, for identity politics, Bob Marley influences how we view ourselves. His top-tier music and traits that make him unique and make him known. For cultures of place, Bob Marley represented Jamaican and introduced Jamaican culture to the world. For media, before and after his death, his music and merchandise advertised all over the media. For STM, technological advances make Bob Marley more well-recognized via television, internet, radio, etc. Overall, I picked Bob Marley as an iconic person because growing up in my small town, Shashamane in central part of Ethiopia, I saw his pictures and paintings everywhere, and people mentioned him frequently. You're probably wondering why. That's because in 1948, Emperor Haile Selassie, also known as Rastafari, donated 500 acres of his private land to allow members of the Rastafari movement and other settlers from Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean to go to Africa. I also lived close to the settlement and went to school with Jamaican kids and had Jamaican friends. That gave me a chance to learn about Bob Marley and later found out how big he is worldwide.
Hi, I'm Paige, and the icon I chose to talk about is the fast-pitch softball player Jenny Finch. First, a little background. Jenny Finch graduated from the University of Arizona in 2002. She was a 3-time All-American first baseman and pitcher during her college career. She went on to play for Team USA, with whom she participated in the Athens and the Beijing Olympics. She recently retired in 2010 in order to spend more time with her husband, MLB pitcher Casey Dagley, and her 3 kids, Ace, Diesel, and Paisley. Jenny Finch wasn't just a softball player. She's an icon throughout the softball community, being one of the most recognized softball players in the US and abroad, and also in the media. She forever changed the image of the softball player. Jenny Finch proved that you can both be feminine and tough all at once. The core area that Jenny Finch is most relevant in is the media. She's very charming and beautiful, which makes her a perfect icon to represent the softball community in the media. She has her own website and her own brand, which includes her line of softball equipment and her famous sparkly headbands. Jenny Finch has even been featured in Sports Illustrated and was named one of People magazine's most beautiful people in 2004. You can follow her on Twitter, and her Facebook page has over 200,000 likes. As a young softball player, I always looked up to Jenny Finch. She was my role model for years, a smart, strong, and talented player. I wanted to be just like her. I even bought her signature sparkly headbands to look like her. She was my inspiration to begin pitching when I was 10. I had many ups and downs during my pitching career, and whenever I felt like quitting or giving up, I would think of Jenny Finch and how her hard work and perseverance paid off, and it would give me the confidence to keep going.
Terence McKenna, one of the greatest philosophers of all time in my personal opinion. He spoke freely about shamanism, metaphysics, culture, technology, and greatly about theoretical origins of human consciousness. There are many reasons why he is iconic to me, but I will only be speaking about a few. He resembles intelligence and really separates himself from the norms of society. Not only that, but he also supports his views of the afterlife that only few are able to understand. One of the hardships that we share is losing our mothers to relentless cancer. After that event in our lives, it had greatly shaped us into completely different beings with different perspectives. His interest quickly went to shamanism, which is strongly focused on the afterlife. He traveled to Colombian Amazons to find dimethyltryptamine, the chemical that is released from your pineal gland right before you die. He came across a brew called ayahuasca that contained large amounts of DMT from certain tree barks and plants. This specific brew was the key to having outer body experiences during a shamanic guided journey to the next realm. This was a huge breakthrough of science, technology, and medicine. After learning from these shamans in the Amazon, he started to speak publicly about his experiences, of how they healed his mental states. He was trying to engage the public with the thought of the afterlife, and why he personally thinks that it does exist with a higher being somewhere out there. Noting that he has nothing against any religion whatsoever, but keeping it very philosophical and careful with the choice of words that he uses to simply justify that there is somewhere we go when we pass away. McKenna soon was diagnosed with brain cancer and passed away in 2000 at the age of 53. A quote before his death: "Just being told by an unsmiling guy in a white coat that you're going to be dead in 4 months definitely turns on the lights. It makes life rich. When I first got these diagnoses, I could see the light of eternity." This is a huge reason why he's the icon I strongly look up to. During his studies, he was informing the public about the afterlife, and once on his deathbed, is still able to say that he sees the light of eternity.
Martin Luther King is one of my favorite icons, mainly because he fought for what he believed is right. He showed the world that anything can be achieved with a dream. His dream was to break the chains that imprisoned black people, not only from his time but from the future generations to come. His dream to end segregation and discrimination was fueled not by violence but by peaceful protests. I admire the courage and determination that he had despite the government being against him. The 4 words that had changed many people and their views on black people, the inspiring words of "I have a dream," made the president realize, the words that made the entire American population realize, the words that made me realize that dreams can come true. Even after 50 years, his words do inspire me to achieve greater and never give up. And even though he died without seeing his dream fulfilled, at least he died having left his footsteps behind and his name on every American calendar.
Yet another musical icon that revolutionized the era is Jim Morrison of the late 1960s band The Doors. He introduced a new type of rock with blues and psychedelic aspects. Jim was a poet, songwriter, lead singer, and self-proclaimed king of orgasmic rock. He sang hit songs such as Light My Fire, Break On Through, and Riders on the Storm. Being ranked 47 out of 100 on Rolling Stone's Greatest Singers of All Time and 22nd out of 50 on Classic Rock magazine's Greatest Singers of All Time, Jim has left quite a mark on the history of rock. But it's not just his high rankings on rock magazine countdowns and countless hit songs that make Mr. Morrison one of the most iconic rock musicians ever. His identity politics were that of an iconic rock star. Jim graduated from UCLA's film school and moved on to a rooftop shanty in Los Angeles, living mainly off canned beans and LSD. He never intended on becoming a singer, but that was all changed when he ran into keyboarder Ray Manzarek on the beach. Astounded with Jim's deep original lyrics, he invited him to sing with the band. The band gained recognition from local nightclub Whiskey A Go Go. Jim transformed from a bashful singer that would face the band during shows to an all-out performer that could both silence and energize a crowd beyond belief. His long-lasting issues with alcohol and other substances gave him great confidence and character on stage. Not only was he a groundbreaking performer, Jim also quickly became a sex symbol for the times. After he realized his potential, there came a point when people just came to listen to Jim rant. In 1969, it was one of their most memorable concerts. Jim showed up absolutely stinking drunk, quote-unquote. After forgetting the lyrics to one of his most famous songs, he began to tell the audience that they were all fucking slaves and to stop letting people tell them what to do. Shortly after, he persuaded the audience to strip and love one another. They complied fully. After the show, Jim had multiple arrest warrants for charges such as lewd behavior in public, indecent exposure, open profanity, and public drunkenness. But other than Jim's drunken escapades on stage, he had a softer, deeper side. When he was not so drunk and probably on some hallucinogens, Jim would indulge in beautiful improvised spoken word poetry that could fully silence crowds of thousands of people. Another piece of Morrison's rock and roll legend comes with his death. He died of unknown causes at the age of 27, enrolling him into the famous 27 Club upon other rock icons such as Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain. His career was short-lasting, only from 1965 to 1971, but in that time he managed to become one of America's greatest rock stars, performers, sex symbols, and poets.